Rachel Zegler is making waves in London, but not just with her voice. In this video, we'll break down 6 explosive elements: the balcony phenomenon, the deadly heatwave, furious ticket holders, artistic vision, backstage tension, and what comes next for Evita. Stay tuned, because it's about to get unpredictable. Number 1. The balcony phenomenon. Picture this. It's a humid London evening in mid-June. The kind that makes the air stick to your skin and the pavement shimmer. Oxford Circus is buzzing, but not because of traffic or tourists. Hundreds of people are staring up at the London Palladium like something sacred is about to happen. And in a way, it is. Suddenly, a balcony door creaks open. A figure steps forward. It's Rachel Zegler. Yes, the same one who's been under fire and under praise more times than you can count. But tonight, she's not talking interviews or responding to Backlash. She's singing. And not just any song. She's giving "Don't Cry for Me Argentina" to the crowd below. Not the theater audience. Not the people who paid over £250 a seat. She's facing the street. And that's when things shift. Because this isn't just a performance. It's a gamble. A statement. A lightning strike dressed in white and backed by theatrical strings. The moment is haunting, beautiful, defiant. But also confusing. Because inside that historic building, the paying audience, who dressed up, who showed up, are watching it all unfold not in person, but on a giant screen. Think about that. Imagine shelling out hundreds for front row magic, only to experience the most iconic moment through a live stream while people on the sidewalk get the live show for free. And not just any moment. The moment. The Evita moment. The one burned into pop culture from Madonna's version, Broadway's legend, Argentina's history. It's the scene. And it's happening outside. What the director calls revolutionary, others are calling ridiculous. Was this a bold new way to democratize theater, or a complete misfire that ignited something they weren't ready to handle? You can feel the tension rising before the final note even leaves her lips. Outside, there's applause. Some are crying. Some are filming. Some are just stunned. Inside, that's where the temperature changes quickly. Whispers grow louder. Frowns deepen. And by the time Rachel vanishes behind the curtain, the crowd inside isn't clapping. They're confused. And a little betrayed. But this was only the beginning. What happened next would turn a creative decision into a public health moment. Complaints would flood social media. 2 people would need medical attention. Fans would demand refunds. And insiders? They'd start leaking whispers that not everything backstage was running so smoothly after all. So how did one balcony scene flip London's West End upside down? We're just getting started. Number 2, Heatwave havoc. What was supposed to be a breathtaking artistic moment turned into something much more dangerous. As the buzz around Rachel Zegler's balcony performance spread across London like wildfire, so did the crowds. Hundreds gathered outside the London Palladium for a chance to witness the scene that was quickly becoming one of the most talked about moments in West End history. But there was one major problem: the weather. London was in the grip of an intense heat wave. Temperatures soared above 90 degrees Fahrenheit, around 32 degrees Celsius, a rare high for the usually mild city. And yet, fans stood shoulder to shoulder for hours, packed tightly against the gates and barriers surrounding the theater. There was no shade, no crowd control, and no warning. Some had shown up as early as noon just to secure a good spot on the pavement. These weren't just casual passersby. These were diehard fans who came prepared with lawn chairs, handheld fans, and umbrellas. But no one was prepared for what actually happened. As the evening drew closer, the sun refused to relent. Faces turned red. Tempers flared. A few people stumbled out of the crowd, dizzy and dehydrated. One woman collapsed, her head hitting the pavement as others rushed to help. Another young man was reportedly escorted away by medics, struggling to stay conscious. 2 audience members required medical attention. Emergency services were called to the scene. Traffic stalled. Panic started to creep in. What began as a theatrical innovation was quickly unraveling into a real-life emergency. And still, the show went on. Rachel emerged on the balcony, radiant and steady, delivering her performance flawlessly. And while the crowd outside erupted in applause, those inside the theater remained largely unaware of the unfolding chaos just steps away. But here's where it gets even more complicated. Because once word got out, on social media, in news headlines, and angry TikTok videos, public opinion began to split. Some praised the moment as brave and immersive. Others called it tone-deaf, reckless, and dangerous. The balcony performance had crossed a line. Not artistically, but physically. It blurred the boundary between performance and reality, between admiration and actual risk. And now the production team was facing a growing wave of concern. Was this just a one-off health scare? Or a sign of a bigger problem brewing behind the curtain? Because remember, this wasn't just about fans fainting in the heat. There were whispers that things backstage weren't much cooler. Missed rehearsals, rising tensions, and one looming question. Could Rachel Zegler keep carrying the weight of this production? Stay with me. You'll want to hear what's coming next. Number 3, ticket holder backlash. While the street outside was melting into a frenzy of sweat, cell phones, and sirens inside the London Palladium, things were heating up in an entirely different way. Imagine this. You've paid £250 or more for a premium seat to see Evita. You've dressed the part. You arrived early. You flipped through the glossy program and waited for the moment. The emotional crescendo. The spotlight scene. The one that defines the entire show. But when it comes time for Don't Cry for Me Argentina, something strange happens. The orchestra swells. The stage lights dim. And suddenly the entire audience is staring at a screen. A live stream. Not of the stage in front of them, but of Rachel Zegler outside, singing to the street. You can almost hear the room tighten. Shoulders shift. Eyes glance sideways. Some people clap out of habit. Others just blink. Because for the audience inside, the experience has transformed into something surreal. They're no longer part of the magic. They're watching it through a lens, just like the people scrolling on TikTok. And that's when the backlash began. In the days that followed, social media lit up with angry posts from paying audience members. Screenshots. Yelp reviews. One called it a glorified simulcast. Another accused the production of outsourcing its best scene. The resentment was real and growing. Some theatergoers felt cheated. One woman shared on Reddit that she saved for months to afford the tickets, only to feel like she was watching someone else enjoy the best part of the show. Another said they would have rather stood on the street for free. And that stung, because for all the artistic symbolism and press buzz, there was one thing the team hadn't counted on: the feeling of being left out, of being an afterthought, of watching the most iconic moment of a high-priced live show on a projection. And it wasn't just online critics. Word began to spread inside the industry too. Theater critics started asking the uncomfortable questions. Was this a case of prioritizing press over patrons? Was the production risking its core audience for the sake of viral spectacle? But here's where the mystery deepens. Because as this storm of complaints gathered momentum, rumors started swirling behind the curtain. That this wasn't the first time cast and crew had questioned the balcony decision. That tensions had been bubbling behind closed doors long before the first note hit the street. And if those whispers were true, then the backlash outside might be the least of their problems. Because next up, we're going inside, behind the scenes, where the pressure is even hotter, and where cracks may already be forming. Number 4, artistic intent versus outrage. Not every scandal is born out of malice. Some are born from vision, from ambition, from the kind of creative fire that dares to color outside the lines. And for Jamie Lloyd, the director behind Evita's radical staging, that fire burned bright. To him, staging Don't Cry for Me Argentina on the balcony wasn't just a gimmick. It was homage. It was history. It was bold. Eva Perón, Argentina's controversial first lady, didn't deliver her iconic address from a theater stage. She did it from a balcony, to the people, unfiltered, raw. So, in Lloyd's mind, why wouldn't Rachel Zegler do the same? In interviews, Lloyd explained his approach. Theater should meet the people where they are. It shouldn't hide behind velvet ropes or ticket prices. It should be alive, unpredictable, and real. That's why, in this Evita, the audience inside becomes a kind of witness, while the city outside becomes the stage. But lofty vision doesn't always land the way it's intended. Because while critics in The Guardian and The Stage praised the innovation, calling it immersive and theatrically radical, others weren't so forgiving. Some called it performative. Some accused the production of prioritizing TikTok virality over the integrity of live performance. And many questioned whether this democratization of theater truly benefited anyone or simply alienated everyone. And then there was the Zegler factor. Rachel isn't just a stage actress. She's a Hollywood star, known for West Side Story, the controversial Snow White reboot, and a rapidly growing list of high-profile roles. Her presence alone pulls headlines, but it also pulls heat. Everything she does is amplified, dissected, and, let's be honest, sometimes weaponized. So when she steps out onto that balcony, she's not just Evita. She's a lightning rod. For praise, for criticism, for everything in between. And here's where things get tricky. Because while Lloyd may have envisioned a symbol of connection, what he got was a firestorm of division. Some fans stood in awe. Others walked out. And in the middle of it all, Rachel was left balancing on the very edge of public opinion, literally and figuratively. But here's the part they're not putting in press releases. Some insiders say the creative team was already clashing over the balcony idea before opening night. There were disagreements, delays, frustrations, and when heat exhaustion hit the street and ticket holders revolted online, it didn't just challenge the vision. It exposed the cracks in the foundation. So now the question isn't just whether the balcony works on a symbolic level. The question is whether the people behind it are still standing together. And the next clue? It's hidden in what's happening behind the scenes. Rehearsal shifts, role coverage, and the growing suspicion that someone else might be stepping in. Number 5, behind-the-scenes tension. Front and center, it's all flashbulbs and fanfare. Rachel Zegler, arms outstretched on a historic balcony, singing one of the most recognizable ballads in musical theater. But just beyond the spotlight, beyond the velvet ropes and press blurbs, is something a lot less polished. A growing unease, a tightening of tension you won't find in any official playbill. Because while the audience was debating whether the outdoor performance was genius or a gimmick, the cast and crew backstage were dealing with something else entirely: burnout, pressure, and whispers that not everyone was on the same page. Let's start with the most obvious sign: alternate performances. Yes, Rachel Zegler is not playing every show. That's not unusual in theater. Lead performers take breaks. Covers and alternates are standard. But in this case, the alternates are becoming more frequent and more noticeable. Fans on Reddit have already started tracking her schedule, posting, "She didn't go on tonight again," or "Anyone know why the alternate is listed for 3 shows this week?" Now, this alone wouldn't be a red flag. But when combined with what's being murmured behind the curtain, it becomes something more. According to a few circulating backstage reports, yes, anonymous but persistent, there have been internal disagreements about how sustainable this staging actually is. Performing that emotionally and physically intense balcony scene in the open air, under extreme heat, multiple times a week, it's not just risky for the audience, it's exhausting for the performer. And if you've seen the footage, it's not a stand and sing moment. It's a full embodiment. Rachel is channeling every bit of Eva's passion and fire. That kind of intensity, in unpredictable conditions, night after night, that's a recipe for real-world strain. Some insiders say rehearsals leading up to opening night were tense. Multiple changes, late-night run-throughs, adjustments to pacing and staging. There were even reports that the tech team struggled to balance outdoor sound quality while maintaining the immersive indoor experience. That's a lot of moving parts, and a lot of room for friction. And through it all, Zegler remained front and center, carrying the story, the scene, the show. But here's the twist no one saw coming. This controversy might be doing more than straining the cast and crew. It might be helping the show sell out. Ticket demand has surged since the balcony moment went viral. People want to see the chaos for themselves. They want the headlines, the heat, the hysteria, whether that's good for the performers or not. Well, that's the next mystery. Because as September nears and the run approaches its final stretch, there's one burning question that hasn't been answered. How long can this version of Evita keep going before something, or someone breaks? Number 6, what's next? With the lights still glowing above the Palladium and a line of fans stretching around the block most nights, it's easy to think Evita is thriving. And in many ways, it is. The show's been extended through early September. Tickets are in high demand. And every night, someone new posts a TikTok of Rachel Zegler stepping onto that balcony, arms wide, voice soaring. But here's the uncomfortable truth. That viral success might be masking a very real sense of instability behind the scenes. Because now, all eyes are on what the production does next. Will they change the staging to avoid future health scares? Will they scale back the outdoor scene or bring it inside entirely? Or will they lean into the chaos, embracing the controversy as part of the spectacle? It's a crossroads moment, and no one seems to agree on which path is right. The director, Jamie Lloyd, has stayed firm. His vision, after all, was never meant to be safe. It was meant to be raw, to reflect the real-world energy of Eva Perón addressing the people. Not from a throne, but from a balcony in the open air. And so far, he's held his ground. But there's growing pressure from the theater community, from health officials, and from inside the house. Some cast members have started speaking cautiously in interviews, hinting at the unique demands of this particular staging. Industry blogs are picking up on it. YouTubers are digging into old quotes. Everyone's searching for signs that something is shifting. And let's not forget the audience. Yes, the controversy has driven curiosity, but it's also raised expectations. People are showing up not just to see a show, but to see something happen. And that's a dangerous standard to set for live theater. Because the minute a performance becomes more about the chaos surrounding it than the story it's telling, something gets lost. And that something might be what keeps a show like Evita from crossing over into true legacy territory. Now, here's where things get even more mysterious. There are rumblings, subtle ones, that Evita's final weeks may not go exactly as planned. Quiet hints that some shows may be restructured, that a new element might be added to recenter focus. Nothing confirmed, just whispers. But when whispers start stacking up, they tend to mean one thing: change is coming. The question is, will that change happen before the final curtain? Or will we be watching something unravel? One note, one spotlight, one step at a time? You'll want to hear what happens next. Because this isn't just about theater anymore. It's about pressure, performance, and how long anyone, on stage or off, can really keep it together. The spotlight's still on Rachel. The balcony's still open. But now the air feels heavier, like something's about to give. Maybe it's just theater doing what it does best. Stirring conversation, blurring reality, and making people feel something. Or maybe it's the calm before the real storm. Because while the final note of Evita echoes across London, one question remains. What happens when the drama offstage becomes louder than the one on it?